the title of the talk is Wandering Text Travelling Project. Thank you very much. Just realised that midway. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to talk about TransARTation, an exhibition of wandering text travelling objects, which took place early this year, between March and May. So TransARTation was possible thanks to the Arts Council England, but we also had some more fundings from the European Society for Translation Studies and the School of Modern Languages at the University of St Andrews. So TransARTation has been devised and curated besides myself by Dr. Manuela Petegela and Dr. Anna Wilson, and was conceived as a traveling exhibition and of translated objects, and we did travel. Our budget allowed us 2 stops. We did go up to Scotland in St Andrews, and then we were here in Norwich for a month at the shoe factory. Variety was our motto. We really wanted to include a variety of objects, so including paintings, multimedia and digital installations, sound performances, workshops, artist talks, and set-specific works, opening up a space for academic, artists, writers, local communities to explore ideas about translation in a variety of ways. And we really wanted to make it accessible to a community. And also being in the shoe factory in Norwich allowed us to do that. There were people that just going to the gym and just dropping by. And it was just nice to see anybody engaging with ideas of translation language. And because of the variety, everybody was engaging with different modes. So the exhibition intended to show that translation, both the translated text and the translation process, can manifest itself in artistic and multimodal outputs. Increasingly, translation is being recognized as a transdisciplinary activity, drawing upon and contributing to a whole range of ideas and practices that include, but can go far beyond, taking a text from one language into another. So we started from the common conception of translation, that's moving from one language to another, but then we use the idea of translation in a metaphorical way of moving across in all sorts of ways. Translation is often used as a framework for artists working with text, and for artists whose work interrogates ideas of transformation, so translation as transformation, but also as a journey, polylingualism, multilingualism, and hybrid spaces. So we want to explore all these different spaces with the poly, multi, and which are ongoing transformation. The resulting conversation between textual and artistic forms, but also modes of communication, are of an important and intriguing nature as they take place on the borders between art and language and make use of intermediate and cross-media resources. So transformation which takes place occurs between borders, in between the borders, art, language. We want to explore different media and way of different outputs. The exhibition has interrogative practice of intersemiotic translation and inter-artistic translation, but also political tropes of translation as migration, movement, and displacement. So this metaphor of moving across, not just between languages, but between places and identities as well. Now, we've had a dedicated website since the inception of the project, but in September we have launched our virtual exhibition. So as part of the project, we are still promoting a website, and we still would like people to come across TransARTation, the actual exhibition. Also, hope of having a second edition. But again, as part of our project and with the Art Council, we need to sort of, promote our website. So I'm going to. So I need to do this now. We're going to go on the actual website. So this is our animation, which I'm really proud of, as our welcoming page, and what TransARTation is all about, all these different things. So, I encourage you to go and visit the website in your own time, at your own pace. Here in the exhibition page, so very interesting. We have a few videos, so I'm just going to run a few videos and comment, just to give an idea of our exhibits and also the variety I was speaking about a bit earlier. So we'll start from. I need to skip it because they're quite long, so I'm just going to. Sorry, I'm just going to do the volume as well. So we start with the Poema Invertido by Veronica Gervais-Picecci, and she tries to decipher the unknown language invented by the poet Geritz, and she produces this little booklet. And this unknown language has entered a new phase here. It draws on the notion of a thick translation, as literary translator Anna Milsom offers English versions handwritten into the original documents. So this is actually the invented language. So there's already been a sort of translation trying to translate the invented language, and then again this translation gets even thicker with the English translation by Anna Milsom. You can actually see the space where the exhibition, and this is by Ancient Lament by Manuela Perteghella. It is a framed collage, a watercolor, and printed the text in watercolor paper, and translates Pianto Antico by Italian poet Giosuè Carducci, composed in 1871 in memory of his 3-year-old son, who had died a year before. And the translation wanted to keep a lullaby rhythm, which is in the source text, and recreate the vivid imagery of the pomegranate tree and its red fruit, which was very much impressed in the translator's mind when she first imagined it many years ago as a child, when she actually read the poem for the first time as a child. So she also felt that she needed to highlight both the metaphorical function of the garden as a playground and a grave. So this is now this is Ira Lachman's Vista, an example of visual translation of Apollinaire's poem Les Fenêtres into a digital city map In Vista, the simultaneity of Apollinaire's text and its verbal images and cartography are exemplified into a map. Here, the graphic surface of the page yields the multiple square frames, and fragmented geographical map opens up like a cubist windows on the world, onto cities and possible voyages. And the poem map is exhibited as a poster. So you can see that, you've got all these windows opening. The color is really actually, it doesn't really come through, it's actually blue. We also had these little maps which we wanted visitors to take away with them, so engage with the poem in their own time. We have oil painted called Oshala, and this painting relates to the misunderstandings between language, culture, and religion. The Arabic statement, Inshallah, translated into English as God willing, is a common enough refrain in the Arab-speaking world and is represented here as if it were an Islamic banner, showing the escalating fear and misunderstanding of Arabic countries in the West. And yes, this is by Calvin Crowe, oil on canvas. He also provided us with this two collage called Proclamation, and the themes of misunderstanding is also here explored in these two collages, which the artist made in subsequent years after the 9/11. The text comes from issues of newspapers, Arab newspapers, produced by and for the Arab diaspora. This was then scrambled as a metaphor for misunderstanding, mistrust, and impossible search for truth. The disjointed text resembles a ransom demand of proclamation, and that's in the title. So you see it's made up of, strips of newspapers. Right, I'm just going to move to sorry, I need to jump a little bit forward. Okay. Catch up with us. We're going to see a project called Translation Game. Hopefully the internet is going to support us. Yes. Now, you're going to see here there's a book. This is a poem. Now, this book collects together images which are the result of a translation game. So the Israeli's unpublished poem still, which is here, so it's at the very beginning of the book, provided the source text for the game. The poem was given to an artist, Sam Treadaway, with the commission to translate the words into imagery. And actually, it was the first one was a T-shirt. Following the rules of a Chinese whispers, each artist passed on their image. So the first image, the first artist gave the image to the second artist, who would see the image but not the source text. So it's a Chinese whispers idea. And it's quite intriguing to see how the sort of image. I mean, unfortunately, really, the colors is not rendered at all on the screen. But all the images and forms are sort of journeying through different translations. So once the chain of visual translations was complete, they announced a competition to retranslate the final image back into poem. Yeah, this again appeared the space where we were in the shoe factory, which, as I was talking to someone, has got really rough texture, but many people love the space where we exhibited anyways, just no show factory. Now this is an interesting project called Adonis Project, and it was a video, so it was interactive. Now it's about Anthony, and Anthony is a nomadic character, and he travels through the text and scenes of 9 young artists taking up different roles, adventures, genre and styles. So we have various nationalities and cultural backgrounds. So the authors of 9 small stories and scenes are acting students of the special course of creative writing and dramaturgy from the Copenhagen International School of Performing Arts, a professional acting school focused on preparing actors for the globalized, diverse artistic world. And through their writings and scenes, they share the experiences of this cross-cultural setting, while using both English and their mother tongue to give voice to their artistic endeavors. So visitors were asked to watch the videos and also to leave a feedback, so I was trying to interact with these multilingual sort of life experiences. So that's okay. Another installation introduced is Elise Aru, who is a surrealist artist in Paris, and she gave us this. People really loved interacting with these boxes. The shadow skin is a creative translation and installation of selected aphorisms and reflection from La Peau de l'Ombre, written by Joël Guéraud. In La Peau de l'Ombre is inspired both by daydream and conceptual thinking. So as you see, basically each box was a little dream to open, and every time, there's a surprise what you would find. But there's always a sort of message, a cryptic message. It was translating the fragments of La Peau de l'Ombre, but every time the message was given on a different texture and was produced in a different way. So writing on goals, or yes, and also it really questioned our way of reading. You have to turn around to read, you have to decipher, so it was quite interesting. And then people could rearrange and reassemble the poem in any way. So it's the idea of manipulation and so it was very dreamlike, of course. But even the idea of unraveling the meaning. This one, for example, was quite difficult to read. So again, also sort of reading experience and those things that we take for granted when we read. Everything was made very difficult. There were so many boxes. And, Let's get more writing placed in different places. I'm just going to skip to the next, which is It was a video, a short video, which was projected on a wall, and part of a project called Translation Zones, stuttering. And the video just serves to, so we won't watch it without me talking on it. The video comprises an edited extracts of different experimental scores performed in different locations around the library. There was a project place in Birmingham. Stuttering was the result of a 6-week action research project, which involved one-to-one interviews, discussions, and workshops with participants from 10 different language communities, and a composer and conductor. And it was designed to immerse participants and audiences in the sounds of language. So focusing upon translation and language as a physical activity and embodied phenomena, the work invites the audience to listen and experience the various abstract alphabetic sounds of the participants' exchange and experimentation. So I'll just let it run. Sorry. Okay. This next one is going to be channel. So this one, part of a project City in Translation, Yearning for Turkish. So through Yearning for Turkish series, part of a wider City in Translation exploration, the artist captures her emotional language as she wanders the streets of various European cities. The exhibition is a journey exploring the varied emotion triggered by seeing the Turkish language, real or imagined, across cities in Europe, and that translation expressed through text and photography. In fact, all the photographies as a sort of language, and again, the screen doesn't render the colors and the vibrant colors of the city. But, there was this example of we saw slow on the street. We were slow and half, and one was basically in Welsh, but the word slow in Welsh in Turkish means hell. So when the shaman, she was riding on the bus at the time, and so like slow hell, of course, all sorts of associations. Okay. Now we have Charles Sanderson, and it was a projection. So we asked people to sort of come through the drapes, and now this is called the Encyclopedia, and it's a computer code. Yes, called C++ computer code. The work is based on the 11th edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, first published in 1911. With over 44 billion words in 28 volumes, it represents the last attempt to compile an index of all world knowledge. The starting point for the work became from observing birds that flocked and landed on the telephone wires strung between poles. As new birds arrived, the original birds had to move along the wire to make space until eventually the birds at the end of the line were forced to fly away. Existing within a computer program, each of the 44 million words of the encyclopedia are given the same behavioral characteristics as the birds. The words remember their original position within the context of the text. However, the encyclopedia has been reduced to one single page into which all the 44 million words have to fit. Like the birds, the words compete to keep their space. And as hard as individual words struggle to hold their place, new words from the next page keep arriving, and history flies. So this work will take at least 30 years for the last words in the encyclopedia to arrive. And each time the work is turned on and off, it keeps its place. So when it's restarted, it continues from the previous condition. So it has a sort of, a real life, and 30 years for all those 44 million words to eventually make their appearance. All children love that, and not only children. Nearly there, actually. Something else I want to show is, okay, we have so that's so we had an installation. We built this cubicle, and it's not cinema-like cubicle where people would enter and look at the Simon Starling's talk. And Simon Starling is a conceptual artist, also former winner of the Turner Prize winner. And his talk was voiced by Stephen Clyde, a Scottish actor, drawing on a number of lectures made by Simon over the past few years. This talk is richly illustrated, presentation. So you can hear as well.
I did find one 10 franc coin. The guy picked up my coin, and he tossed it theatrically in the air, and watching it carefully landed on the counter between us, and he immediately pushed the coin back to me in front. And I picked it up, and on closer inspection realised it was a fake. And I soon discovered there were many such coins in the city. I later speculated how, had that coin dropped from the counter and started to roll down the pavement, how it might, smelling as it now did, merguez sausages and chips, have attracted the attention of one of the many stray dogs inhabiting the square come lunchtime, and for whom its illegitimacy, its currency, would have been of little interest. But at moments, I thought that coin would have mutated many times from lunch money to fake currency to fascinating find, and finally to Pavlovian symbolism. Now, back in my studio in the converted cigarette factory, I was busy converting a huge wooden display case from the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh into a small fishing boat. I travelled down there with this disassembled piece of museum furniture on the roof of my car, and then spent some happy months building what became a rather handsome-looking craft, and then I went fishing. Oh, sorry. I eventually caught some fish, and then I found a charcoal maker, and we shoved the boat into his charcoal ovens, and it came out black and beautiful. And I used a small amount of that charcoal to barbecue the fish that had been caught in the boat. There they are. I was a terrible fisherman, but I slowly learned how, with the help of a Swiss painter working in the studio next to me, who told me what kind of worms to buy, where to go, and when, and stuff like that. And the work was finally displayed in this fashion as an array of detritus, as we call it. You had the remains of the boat, almost like something you might find in an archaeological museum. The fishing equipment, that poster with the text on it, and then the names of all the fish that were caught on the gallery wall. Also names on the chart. And it ends as a kind of loop, an elaborate detour from the museum into the world, and then ultimately back into the museum again, a musical object or two. And while that was the solution for exhibiting the work, at the time, I also started to be invited to make some talks, and slowly they became very important to me as a means of retracing the origins of the work, mapping the coordinates.
So I'm going to stop there. So as you see, he interrogates his own artistic practice and the role of artistic thought, but also with relation to the relationship between translation, transformation, and transpositions. Finally, is the last one I want to show you, and then which is George Searcy's and Clarissa Upchurch work, which is a collaboration between an artist and a poet. We commissioned them to create these works for especially for TransARTation. The artist produced a series of monoprints, a medium in which ink is worked by brush and other means across a metal surface, and then printed under pressure. The clouds, which take distinct but constantly changing dynamic form, is an idea that lends itself to explore transformation and therefore particularly appropriate for exploration of the poetic form. So the clouds were produced before the poem, so the image is the clouds. And then poems were produced, and which consist of two parts. We have an example downstairs in the foyer, just one part, where you can, so you can, we had 6 days. So there was a sequence which relates to the shape suggested by the cloud itself, and then it was followed, as you see, it was followed by a prose poem. And the passage in prose would take the material, the poetic material, in a freer way, and then so it was sort of echoing the fluidity and mutability of the monoprint process itself. So I'll just start. I'm just going to stop here, but the website contains more. We had also, this is yes, performance we had also in the space, but we also have more information on the workshops we had. We got galleries with photographs of, you know, we also have children from schools who came to do a workshop. So we wanted really to engage with the community in a variety of ways. So downstairs, as Helen mentioned, we have just a few works. So I just invite you to have a look. We also got Clive Scott's canvas and translation of Apollinaire. And there are also catalogs, which I invite you to take them, and you find all the information about the works. And please go to our website, take your time to investigate and have a look. And hopefully we may come back with a second edition of the book. So anyway, thank you very much for that.